Okay, good afternoon YouTube. Welcome back to Fat Cat Collections. Got another product for you guys today, and this is by a brand that goes by the name of OOSSXX. OOSSXX, I guess, right? So they're another, Chinese-based, I believe Chinese-based smart home security company or smart home, camera company, basically. There are so many brands out there to choose from nowadays on Amazon. As always, folks, I'll put the link in the description. And let's see what you get. So I'm actually going to do an unboxing today. I don't normally do that. I just kind of like just talk about it, kind of like a show and tell. But let's see what you get. So here's the box. Pretty straightforward. This is kind of like just generic, right? Nothing really to write home about. Nor do we care about the box. Let's see what you get. So of course, white inner box. Pop this bad boy open. And this is pretty standard, to be honest with you. Alright, so let's take a look at the camera. Alright, so here it is. Rather large when you compare it to... Well, I shouldn't say rather large. It's not a small camera. It's not a huge camera like the Reolink ones I've been raving about, right? This one here is... kind of mid-size. One thing right off the bat that I really like about this is that you do have solid metal construction, which is great. I just feel like, not to say that plastic isn't going to last, but I do feel like, if you live in areas that have more temperature extremes, a lot of sun and a lot of shade, plastic can kind of deteriorate over time. Metal is always pretty safe, right? I have a similar camera up at my folks' house. It's been up there for like 6 years. Looks as good as the day you got it. Other great thing to add to any camera that you get is go ahead and add one of these. This is also by OOSSX, or we're just going to call it OOSSXX. It's a shield. So you just need to mount this to your surface, put the camera underneath. It gives you some protection, right? I know it's rather large. I'm hoping they come out with a newer model that's a little bit... this is massive. This doesn't have to be this big, right? But nonetheless, it's a tool for you to protect your smart home tech. And again, another thing I really like is this has got dual antennas. And so keep in mind, remember that anytime that you have anything that you're putting outside when it comes to Wi-Fi, very quickly you may think like, oh, it's just a wall and this is 10 feet of my interior wall and then it's outside, the signal should be great. Not the case. So many factors influence Wi-Fi. This is something that having two antennas is definitely going to help. The only downside to that, it just makes the camera a little bigger. But it is white. It will blend into like your trim. If you have white trim, if you have a dark house, it's going to stand out, which may not be a bad thing. I'm a firm believer in letting cameras kind of stand out. So if somebody's kind of lurking around, they're aware that they're there. It's not an end-all. It doesn't mean that nobody's going to call it, do you any harm or damage your property or steal from you. It just means it's another layer of protection. I always mention layers of security in any video I do regards to smart home tech and security like this, right? So I'm going to read you the basics here. You get two-way audio, family sharing, which is nice if you have, for instance, like not all cameras, right? But like my driveway cameras, I'll let my mom and dad have that too. So if they're just like, we haven't heard from the boy, where's he at? They can just kind of see if I'm home or not. They can just check the camera real quick, see if my car is gone, and, just check up on me, right? And it's nice for me too, be able to look up there. Is their car gone, Again, that's up for you to decide where you want cameras and who you want to share them with. But you do have, it says here that it runs off the EC Cloud app. Now, here's one thing that bothers me about some of this stuff is that I have 8 million different apps. So, nice thing about a lot of this Chinese-based smart home companies that a lot of them use the Smart Life app. Unfortunately, with cameras, they all seem to like to use their own app. So if you have one brand security camera ready, for me, it's different because I get a lot of stuff comped. I don't really buy anything for myself when it comes to security cameras, which is awesome. But you get to the point where it's like, all right, now I'm monitoring 2 different houses, my folks, my own. Now I have like 8 different brand cameras with 8 different apps. And unfortunately, at least at this point, the smart home assistants, whether it be by Google or Amazon, they don't let you view, unless something's changed recently, but they don't let you view your cameras in their app. Like those brands play well with others very well. You can control lights and all that stuff, but when it comes to viewing apps, you just don't have a lot of options other than using the app that is designed to work with it, right? And that kind of sucks. It'd be really nice if they all just kind of got on the same bandwagon and said, yep, we're all going to use Smart Life, and then you can all get whatever brand camera and use their app. With something like this, now I got to download another app, and so that becomes kind of annoying. But if you are starting out and looking to choose cameras, my advice to you, if you haven't bought anything already, is try to keep within the same brand. If you find a brand that you really like, try to keep using it, and then you'll be able to have all your cameras under one roof, so to speak. But back to the camera, it says here your wireless distance will be, they mean better. It says updated about 55%, and the video will be even better and smoother. I can assure you my network is pretty robust. I think that's a real stretch to say that the Wi-Fi range is going to be 55% better. I have cameras that have like internal antennas outside, and then I have cameras that have much larger antennas than this, and ultimately it doesn't make that much of a difference. It helps, but not that much of a difference. So again, I encourage anybody when mounting a camera, download a free app for Wi-Fi signal. Check the RSSI signal, right? And just kind of you look at what you're getting. Sometimes mounting a camera, you may only have to move it a foot, and you might just get much better Wi-Fi. But nonetheless, the 2 antennas will definitely help. I'm glad it has it, but I don't know if that's necessarily a true statement. But just keep in mind it is better. It does have PIR and smart two-way detection. It does have AI detection. So I believe this will be able to detect, and I haven't used this yet with the app, but I think this will be able to, yeah, like they show wireless, and just to get back to the wireless, they show like a little picture of true dual antenna showing an increase of 55%, showing it from another house. Like, I don't know if you're going to be able to extend the range that much. I have cameras that cost a lot more than this, and they don't have that kind of range. So I don't think you're going to get that kind of range out of this. But again, you may have if you have an outdoor access point in your backyard, you may get that kind of range. These are not super huge antennas. They're not super high gain. But, don't get me wrong, I'm not downplaying this camera at all. But just kind of every home is different. I don't want you guys to read something and then get like, kind of a false hope that this might work. The only way you really know is by testing, right? So just kind of keep it in mind, this is another video to bring some brand awareness to the camera, and it might be something you might want to get. Other nice thing about this is that it does have hardline Ethernet cable. I'm a huge fan of that. If you are watching this and you are self-contracting a house or having somebody build you a house, go ahead, spend the extra money, have them hardwire soffit or overhang outdoor boxes for Wi-Fi connections, and make sure you have an outlet, right, with a GFCI plug with an outlet, and of course a hardline Ethernet connection. This way, if you want to mount cameras around your overhangs, even if you have a front porch, put those in different random places. Even if you just look at your house that you have that again, this is harder for somebody who's not constructing their house right now. But if you are and you can look at it, it's not finished yet, before all the you have all the electrical work done, look at it and say, where might I want a camera? And then make sure you put in those boxes, because hardline is always better than Wi-Fi. It's just way more reliable, right? But it does have that option. You do have your power adapter, which plugs in here, and you do have a reset button. So again, that doesn't really help you much if it's mounted too high. I wish the reset button, I don't know why they put it on a cord like this. This is done by many brands. I'd much rather see them just put the reset button underneath the cap. If you have to get to the camera anyway to access the SD card, or you have to reset it, what's the difference in a foot? You already have to climb up to it and get to it. So this just makes the cord extremely clunky and just really kind of annoying, because when you're trying to hide this, this becomes something that's very visible, and it gets difficult to try to hide this. So to me, this is kind of, again, depending on where you're mounting this may be a deal breaker. Getting free stuff, I find a use for it, but I always find this a challenge to hide all this. You can try to zip tie it, but at the end of the day, you're going to be left with this. So whatever you do, and it's not like you can put it in a loom. Like this is these are large plugs on here. So just kind of keep that in mind. And this company should keep that in mind when they're making their newer model. How do you make this a little bit cleaner, right? So now, if you have a box, for instance, if you are preparing for this, and you have, let's say, an Ethernet line ran into an outdoor box, right? You could coil this up, plug it into the Ethernet, and hide that inside the box. One way or another, though, you got to hide it, is my point. So what else here? Has infrared detectors. This has the algorithm for smart notifications. Pretty much the same standard stuff. It says here the detection will avoid 99% of false alarms. Leaves, cloud, animals, insects. We don't know. I haven't tested this yet, but I've never found a camera capable of doing that all that well. the AI detection is kind of in its early stages. I find, you know, it sort of works sometimes, but they still get fooled. Now, I may be pleasantly surprised, and like with anything that I review, any updates that I give you, I always throw it in the description at a later date. I usually will add the date there. So just kind of keep that in mind. You know, these YouTube videos keep producing, you know, viewers, right? Or they keep producing potential customers for the brands I work with. So again, keep that in mind. $50 for this camera, I think, is within line for what a lot of cameras cost. But you can get cheaper cameras in the $30 price range. You can get more expensive cameras, but I do like the solid metal construction. Has a nice wide viewing angle of 130 degrees. I like the dual antennas, but all the rest of the stuff pretty much the same as any other camera out there. But again, time will tell on how well this works, but in all honesty, you know, if you like this camera, this is pretty standard. Lots of cameras look like this, but it just depends. I think something to ask yourself is, how discreet do you want your cameras? Do you want them visible? Do you want them really discreet? Do you care? Are you going to mainly only use Wi-Fi? Then definitely look for the dual antenna. That's going to help. I think that if you are putting cameras, you know, outside, of course, which is where cameras like this are going to go, they're weather resistant. I think just something for anybody to think about is, again, how discreet do you want them? 2, whether you're going to hardwire them or you're going to use Ethernet, and hardwire with Ethernet, or you're going to use Wi-Fi, right? So keep that in mind. Other thing about this is that I don't believe this can be operated with power over Ethernet. So you do still have to plug it in. You are going to have to utilize that 3.5 millimeter plug, I think it is, and you are still going to have to use the power adapter. Let's take a look at the power adapter, see what that looks like. Because I've had ones that are huge, right? So this is, all right, pretty standard, not small, not huge, but that's what it looks like. There you go. So this is big, you know, I mean, to me, you're going to have to plug this in. So just kind of picture your house. You're trying to do a nice clean setup. You're going to have to plug this thing in with all the cord and find a way to conceal this. Downside to this, why do they make it black? These are the kind of things that kind of bug me. You're like, if you're going to make the camera white, don't make the cord black. You know, you have 2 different colors. It doesn't make any sense, right? Black should be the last color that any company uses on outdoor products like this. Again, you may have a darker house, but when I look around my neighborhood, most homes have lighter color paint and they have white trim. You do have the houses that don't, but you know, and this may work for you, but one way or another, these are 2 extreme colors, white and black, right? So one way or another, something's going to stand out. This is a lot to have to deal with. So just kind of keep that in mind. Also, you know, where are you going to be plugging this in? This is not weather resistant. So what is the point of making the camera weather resistant if you're going to have to plug this in somewhere it's going to get wet? So again, you can order another shield, cover your outlet. I recommend you using of course, always use a GFCI plug for anything outside that has the potential to get wet. And of course, with something like this, you know, get an active use cover. I don't mean when you look at your outlet that you see the gray cover with the, you know, the rubber seal in there and you open it up. That's weatherproof when it's closed. When you're using it, you want an active use outlet cover. And what that is, basically a clear cover. It has a hinge on top. You open it, and basically you plug the device in, and the cord runs out and out the bottom. So it can get rained on, it's sealed, and it keeps this dry, because this is not designed to get wet. So just a couple things to keep in mind. Regardless, nice camera. I think it'll work for a lot of folks. I'll find a use for it. And I do want to thank OOSSXX for their generosity in collaborating Fat Cat Collections. And if you guys have any questions whatsoever, I'm always here to help. I'll try to give you the best answer. If I don't have the answer, I'll try to get you the answer. So have a great day, folks. Subscribe to the channel, and take care of yourselves.